From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Ubani.
Tonight, former House of Representatives Speaker Yakubu Dogara gives reasons for dumping the PDP, alleges failure of governance in Bauchi State. Suspended EFCC Chairman Ibrahim Mago says he will no longer fold his arms as orchestrated accusations against him are thrown on a daily basis. Abuja-Kaduna rail service expected to resume on July 29th ahead of the Eid al-Kabir celebrations. And Spain says outbreaks of new cases of COVID-19 are isolated and under control after the UK abruptly ordered people coming from the country to quarantine. Plus, sports stories. We begin tonight with politics, as the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, has been explaining his reasons for dumping the opposition PDP for a return to the APC. Mr. Dogara said in a statement that he had made the decision based on the same reasons he and others fought hard to effect changes in governance in Bauchi State in 2019, which is festering now. In a letter written to the chairman of the PDP in the state, Mr. Dogara explains that he is demanding answers to the spendings on local government allocations since May 2019, the campaign promised to conduct LGA elections within 6 months of the PDP government, the 4.6 billion naira loan taken from a bank and paid directly into a private company's accounts, segmenting of salaries, outsourcing of payment of salaries to a private firm as consultants, contracts inflation, and why revered traditional rulers and elders are treated with odium. He adds that he cannot also fail to raise these questions, having raised similar ones during the administrations of Governors Issa Yuguda and Muhammad Abubakar. Honorable Dogara announced his defection to the APC after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday. Meanwhile, the political drama in Edo State is gradually becoming intense, with the People's Democratic Party accusing the All Progressives Congress of plotting to wipe out the party's hierarchy, including the national chairman, Uche Secondus, and Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State during a courtesy visit to the Oba of Benin's palace. Addressing journalists in Benin City, the Edo State capital, chairman of Obasaki Shaibu Campaign Council, Mr. Dan Obi, alleged the attack carried out on the PDP convoy could lead to a serious conflict involving states which had their governors in attendance.
I want to say that yesterday's event was a political mutiny organized to eliminate constituted authorities in the various states in Nigeria. That is why we are calling on all the security agencies to swing into action, to bring to book those behind yesterday's incident. We are aware that the incident was sponsored by the sponsors of APC in Edo State and the APC leadership. I think for our democracy to survive, we need to open up the space for everybody. I also want to place on record that after we left the palace, those who were wearing PDP caps and the PDP emblem, they were attacked, their cars were destroyed by armed youths who were organized to carry out yesterday's incident.
Meanwhile, the APC is in turn accusing the PDP of being responsible for the incidents at the Oba's Palace, insisting that PDP supporters attacked their members who were holding a peaceful protest. A national The National Vice Chairman, Media and Communications Committee for the Edo State governorship election, Mr. Patrick Obahiagbon, alleges that his party uncovered a plot by the state government to arrest and intimidate its leaders on the eve of the September 19th election.
The governor's army of thugs and cultists descended on protesters at the entrance of the palace of our great king, the Oba of Benin, and other parts of the Benin metropolis, sending many to the hospital with gunshot wounds because they dared to express their rejection, we were made to understand, of the outgoing governor who, instead of fixing the humongous problems bedeviling the state, such as the payment of old salaries and fixing the state's challenging ecological issues inter alia, rather chose to invite tax collectors to the state to further the bacchanalian feast on the state's treasury. The Edo State government is planning to use COVID-19 as a ruse to neuter grassroots leaders of our party, the APC, on the eve of the gubernatorial election by abducting and detaining them in isolation centers.
Staying with politics, the People's Democratic Party at the national level is faulting President Muhammadu Buhari's decision to attend a peace parley in Mali a few days ago. The party said in a statement that the president decided to visit Mali but failed to find a solution to the myriad of political, economic and security crises ravaging the country. The statement says since President Buhari has shown that he could leave the comfort and safety of the presidential villa, he should respond to the distress caused by Nigerians and immediately visit Katsina, Kaduna, Borno, Yobe and other states where bandits, insurgents and kidnappers kill innocent people. The party describes the president's prioritization of the situation in Mali over the worsening political and economic instability in the country as a misplacement of governance, as well as a dereliction of statutory responsibilities. A teenager has been killed and 5 others injured at an illegal mining site located at Papi village in the outskirts of Minna, the Niger state capital. A 14-year-old boy was shot dead following a clash between some illegal miners and farmers in the area. The incident occurred at about 4 in the morning today. Father of the slain boy said he got a call at about 6 a.m. from a colleague that his son had been shot. Channels Television gathered that illegal miners and farmers in Papi have a history of misunderstanding due to alleged encroachments by the miners on people's farmlands. On Sunday, miners numbering over 50, mostly teenagers and some in their 20s, stormed the mining site but were said to have met with resistance from some farmers. The suspended chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Mago, says he is ready to fight back at orchestrated attacks against his person. Mr. Mago's position is contained in a statement by his legal counsel, Wahab Shitu, where he denied misappropriating funds recovered from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC. He said the allegations against him border on matters that were never brought before the panel set up by President Muhammadu Buhari to probe the activities of the EFCC under him. Mr. Shitu explains that the well over 329 million naira recovered by the EFCC was remitted directly into NNPC dedicated accounts via remitter under a special arrangement endorsed by the NNPC, the EFCC, and the affected NNPC marketers. Other allegations which Mr. Shitu dispelled include that of assets declaration and failure by Mr. Mago to properly explain the rationale for the exclusion of culprits in the alleged misapplication of 3 billion naira in the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It describes the allegations as fraudulent and deliberate attempts to malign Mr. Mago. To infrastructure now, the traffic diversion on the Third Mainland Bridge has commenced, with motorists taking turns on a 12-hour shift on the Lagos Island-bound lane of the bridge. Some motorists who spoke to Channels Television say, so far, it's been a smooth ride and transition, but they're skeptical that this may not be the case throughout the exercise. Our correspondent, Olu Phillips, brings us details.
First set of vehicles inbound Lagos mainland, making it to the interchange point at the Adeniji axis and making it onto the inbound Lagos Island lane. So far, it's been a smooth switch as the vehicles return to their original lane using the interchange created at the Adekule axis of the bridge.
Although today is Sunday, we don't know how tomorrow will be, but as of now, it's still fantastic.
Despite his pains, the last mile boss has reported to duty, making sure his men are serving the best. Road cones and signs to help motorists navigate appropriately have been put at strategic points. Is this, however, a foretaste of what may be obtainable on a workday?
The way they are going about it, they would have, the other Surulere area is unkept. They would have fixed that road before working on this, and to less the stress of the people.
The diversion point appears to be the area where most drivers are having some difficulty navigating, but it can be better if patience rules.
Yes, sir. This is what we've noticed. While people get to this point, this Adekule axis, drive all the way, and they get here and they're confused. They're not sure what to do. Yeah. All right. We'll say it again. Every day before midday, you can use the Third Mainland Bridge if you're going to the island. If you're returning, you can only do so from midday off the island. Don't get on the bridge and not be sure what time it is and how to turn. So then again, there's an adjustment, meaning that even after midday now, you can approach the bridge. But this is how far you can go, the Adekule axis. Once you get here, please don't get confused if it's after midday. Just turn right, head back into Adekule, find your way into Hebabokoli, all the way to Ido, Carter Bridge, and you're out. You can't come back to the Third Mainland Bridge once it is after 12 or after midday. This is the protocol, and you need to really get acquainted with it.
Repair work is yet to resume in the manner that can be comprehended or visible to the ordinary eye. But we are told nothing has changed in terms of the work plan. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Ahead of these Salah celebrations, the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, is assuring commuters that the Abuja-Kaduna rail service will resume on the 29th of July 2020. Mr. Amechi explains that safety measures have been put in place to contain the spread of the coronavirus. He was speaking at the Rigasa train station in Kaduna shortly after tests running 10 new coaches and 2 locomotives recently deployed on the route.
The Idu train station in Abuja is deserted as passengers stay away due to the shutdown of train services since March 2020. The step was taken to curb the spread of COVID-19. With safety measures in place, the Minister of Transportation arrives at the station to test run newly acquired coaches ahead of a planned resumption of services. After a smooth ride from Abuja to Kaduna, the Minister announced the resumption of services and a fare increment.
We expect that they will resume on Wednesday. The new fares, first class, 6,000 naira, business class, 5,000, economy, 3,000.
The Kaduna State Governor backs the fare increase as he assures passengers of adequate security.
The train is secure, the train is well protected. Even the Abuja-Kaduna highway is well protected. There has not been a kidnapping case there since October last year. So I'm not worried about security. What I want to appeal to people that will use the train is to ensure that they keep physical distancing, they wash their hands, because coronavirus, the COVID-19 is still very much around. I have always held the view that the fares were too low, and that's what has led to the racketeering. If you come to buy the ticket, you can't get it. You have to buy it from a middleman at twice the price. So why shouldn't the government capture that? So it is quite right. I fully support the decision by the federal government to increase the fares. In fact, the fares should even be slightly higher than this.
The manager of the Abuja-Kaduna train services highlights the safety measures in place as he warns passengers without face masks not to enter any of the train stations.
We are 85% prepared because we know a day like that will come. If you pass through our station at Idu today, you will see a demo of what we intend to do in all the stations. You can see the social distancing marked as strategic locations. Now we have a definite date for resumption. We'll complete them in all the passenger stations.
As passengers look forward to the resumption of train services along Abuja-Kaduna route, the volume of traffic in the coming days will confirm if the increased fare is a step in the right direction.
In part two, after the break, National Emergency Management Agency visits home of mother and her 4 children who died after torrential rainfall in Abuja. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Former House of Representatives Speaker Yakubu Dogara gives reasons for dumping the PDP, alleges failure of governance in Bauchi State. Suspended EFCC Chairman Ibrahim Magu says he will no longer fold his arms as orchestrated accusations are thrown on him on a daily basis. Abuja-Kaduna rail service expected to resume on July 29th ahead of Eid al-Kabir celebrations. And Spain says outbreaks of new cases of COVID-19 are isolated and under control after the UK abruptly ordered people coming from the country to quarantine. And sports stories. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us live via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. 35 more Nigerians stranded in France and other European countries have returned home today, arriving at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport this evening. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission says all the returnees have tested negative for COVID-19 and have begun the compulsory 14-day quarantine. The Commission adds that 32 more nationals of other countries were also on the flight from France. The Center for Values and Leadership, in collaboration with the Nigeria Governors Forum, is fostering public discussion on the challenges of leadership and governance in the new normal. The purpose, according to the organizers, is to strengthen the country's democracy, improve governance, transparency, and public accountability, especially during the global health crisis. Our correspondent, Dari Dowu, reports.
It's an event with physical and virtual attendees, a reflection of the changing times.
Reworking budgets, a number of them have completed that.
Organized by the Center for Values and Leadership as part of its webinar series for state governors on leadership and insecurity challenges in the new normal.
So, for takeoff,
speakers representing different sectors share their thoughts on how the country could navigate its way out of the challenges posed by COVID-19.
The questions are as simple as the answers.
Abilities and resolve of governments and established institutions have been tested, and the search for new ways to cushion the effect of the time is in progress.
So what kind of security challenges do we have?
The Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu speaks on the state's response to COVID-19 and now the pandemic has altered what used to be normal.
We've ensured that our access to our various levels of governance are not slowed down. Yes, even as we speak, we still have about 60% of our staff not physical in our Lausa. We're still ensuring that it's only the critical arm of our government are reporting to work almost on a weekly basis the Governors Forum will continue to engage ourselves. Nobody needs to travel to Abuja to go and attend, a Governors Forum meeting. We're doing it virtually, and we're doing it effectively and efficiently.
Scenarios approved in advance.
The organizers believe that this forum will contribute in strengthening Nigeria's governance system and also improve the country's democracy and public accountability.
Prioritizing. What's the most important priority? Education is a major issue now. How do we educate children who are at home? It's not something that you could have thought of last year. It's too easy to say, well, things are challenged. People can't go to school. No, but if you don't educate this generation, the next generation is in serious trouble.
The professor of political economy says these efforts built around reforming leadership and governance will continue with functional feedback mechanism in place to track the progress of such dialogue. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
To some disaster now, the National Emergency Management Agency has expressed regret over the death of a mother and her 4 children on Saturday after torrential rainfall in Gwagwalada area council swept away some houses. Speaking in Gwagwalada after an on-the-spot assessment of the damage done by the rainfall, the Director, Planning, Research and Forecasting of NEMA, Mr. Kayode Fagbemi, advised residents of flood-prone areas to immediately move out to avoid more disaster.
It's very unfortunate, especially we have lost life. And this is exactly what we have been trying to educate people on. There's a culvert over there. It's likely it has been blocked or it was blocked. And so the water had to find its way above the road and then affected the house, our houses. We still want to educate people. We're still going to have more rainfall. We want the people to please clear all their drainages. Waterways should be cleared of waste, and people should move. People that are close to waterways like this should move. We don't want to lose more life. We don't want to lose people. We want people to know that flood this year has been predicted, and whatever we can do to save life, we will do. And that is one of the things we want to do. Yes, the government will give some relief material, but that cannot bring the life back. And it's very unfortunate. And we don't want more deaths in this way.
Meanwhile, the people of Abari community in Patani local government area of Delta State are appealing to the state government to come to their rescue as their community is on the verge of being wiped out by erosion. The residents say more than 50 houses have been washed away, leaving many homeless, while others have vacated their homes for fear of being cut up in the disaster.
Water, they say, is life. But in the case of a Abari community in Patani local government area of Delta State, the reverse appears to be the case. Water here has become a perceived enemy of the community, gradually washing away its landmass, leaving it on the verge of being wiped out. Buildings have caved in, some others destroyed. According to residents, they have sleepless nights, not sure of what may happen next.
This week they say I not feel sleep. This house when it then here also, we won't fall. After this one on our own, you don't fall the chair for. You just stand like this.
Beautiful houses, grave sites, churches have been eroded to the river. And we've made hectic moves to NDDC, to council, to state government, even to Abuja. Nothing has been done.
With consistent rainfall, it means the situation may even get worse. The effect of this disaster waiting to happen is also telling on the education of the children in this community.
If you go to the school company, you can't see teachers. You can't see teachers. All of them will come, and some of them will then transfer them, come there, you no go see them. They will come and report themselves, go back, month, and then take their money.
We have cried to the state government, to the local government, to the federal government for years, even before now. The community has suffered a lot. And the women, the men, the youths, we are all still crying to the help of the state, local, and the federal government to come to our needs.
Acknowledging that the community may be completely wiped out in a few years, the local government chairman insists the state government cannot handle the situation alone.
It's a community that you don't have one piece of land you can see when the water comes in its eye. So it has to be a collaboration, deliberate collaboration between the Delta State government and the federal government.
The Niger Delta region is naturally prone to erosion such as this. But for the people of Abari, if nothing is done urgently, the community may be completely wiped out.
An appeal has been made to members of the National Assembly to support the federal government's special public works program. The appeal was made by the Nasarawa State Selection Committee as it begins recruitment of 13,000 persons from across the state. Our correspondent Halima Gayom has a report.
It is a typical trading day for these hawkers before the arrival of members of the State Selection Committee of the Federal Government Special Public Works Program. Swiftly, they line up, providing their details anxiously. The team then moved to another spot to register these artisans. From this peasant farmer met at his farm to this woman at her house, persons with disability on the streets to these laborers at their work site. The aim is one, to get to the most vulnerable persons, which is the purpose of the program, targeted at 774,000 of them across Nigeria. As they give their data in anticipation, these laborers make their plans for the 60,000 naira stipend known.
With this, it will really help us with the graduate because, we don't have anything doing. So all our hope and expectation is on this. If only this will come to pass, I think it will help a lot of youth here. Like you can see, there are so many graduates here on ground. They have nothing doing.
I feel this program well because I see from here I will get something to benefit myself and to benefit my family.
But the state chairman of the selection committee wants support from lawmakers to ensure a smooth implementation of the initiative.
I want to appeal to our National Assembly leaders that the poorest of the poor that you can see that we have moved around to register them does not understand Section 2, Subsection 1 of the Constitution as argued by them, whether who is right or who is not right. What the poorest of the poor understand is the food on their table.
Although controversy has greeted the program, 13,000 indigents, 1,000 each from the 13 local government areas of Nasarawa State await its commencement, billed to run from October to December at a cost of 780 million naira. Halima Gayam, Channels Television News.
When the News at 10 returns, we'll examine the current state of COVID-19 pandemic management in Nigeria. We'll be joined by our data analyst, Babajide Ogusonwo. Join us again. Welcome back. Governors of the 5 southeastern states have mandated all school teachers in the region to undergo compulsory COVID-19 tests. The chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum and Ebonyi State Governor, David Umahi, says the forum, at the end of its meeting today, reviewed the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on the region and has decided to compel COVID-19 tests for all teachers in the Southeast region. He has the school infrastructure will be reviewed to support the Nigeria Center for Disease Control protocols, pending when the federal government decides on when it is safe to reopen schools. He also encouraged people to continue to comply with COVID-19 protocols while testing on every household with aged persons from 65 years and above will also commence. Tomorrow, July 27th, will mark 5 months since the first case of coronavirus was reported in Nigeria. There's been approximately 40,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. And the good news is that 98% of the patients are alive. Though more than half of the active cases are in Lagos State, the state government is projecting a deceleration of new cases from August. How close are we to flattening the coronavirus curve? To share insights on this and developments of the past week is a Channels Television's information data analyst, Babajide Ogusanwo. He has all the answers when it comes to numbers.
Good evening, Amarch. I see you're keeping such a distance between us.
I have to. I have to. My health is important. So
that's correct.
Tell us your observations this past 1 week.
Again, we've seen good news and we've seen some bad news. Let's start with the top three things that are perhaps, for me, the most important this week. This week, in the last 7 days, we've seen over 48,000 Nigerians taking the coronavirus sample. That is the highest number we've seen in a week since we've started reporting cases. So 48,000 samples, or 48,000 new tests in the last 1 week. Some good news. But again, total number of tests we've taken so far, still below 300,000. And remember, our target was to get to 2 million tests by the end of this month. So yes, we've seen the highest number of samples taken this week, but we are still significantly behind when it comes to our 2 million target for the end of July. The second fact is Nigeria is now, within Africa, the third country with the highest number of coronavirus cases, just behind South Africa, number 1, Egypt, number 2, and then we have Nigeria with now approximately 40,000 cases. But the third, and perhaps where we should focus on, the third important fact is that as of today, we've got 22,173 active cases. That means that there are still over 22,000 people living in the country that have been diagnosed of the COVID-19 and they still are receiving treatment. But here's the fact. Even though we have more than 22,000 Nigerians with COVID, more than half of those Nigerians are living in Lagos. And so, yes, the evidence shows that Lagos really is still where more than half, most active cases are. And in the last 1 week, we've seen a lot of debate over what that word most really means. But the fact when it comes to coronavirus is that most active cases are in Lagos.
And these are all just confirmed cases because it is believed that there are COVID-19 cases in some smaller communities where testing is not being done. But going by what the Lagos State Commissioner for Health says, a deceleration in August. Some are really skeptical about this and wondering how significant or realistic is it?
I think when people talk about the picking of the coronavirus cases, you've said it rightly, it's the deceleration of new cases. So what it means, or what the projection from Lagos State shows, is that they expect that by August there will be new cases, but the rate of new cases will decline. So deceleration, decline, yes, that's right. But here's what I perhaps want us to look at. Let's look at the major timelines of what has really happened in Lagos since the first case in February, because that really allows us to know what has really been going on, and then we can really look at what has happened. First case reported in Lagos on the 27th of February. Now Lagos has reported 14,300. There have been 14,300 confirmed cases. In March, the major news in March was that no patient required a ventilator. In April 3rd, there was the first death. April 6th, Lagos State started the community search. Lagos State had said they expected to have had 40,000 cases, but only 120 cases had been confirmed. And on the 25th of April, the state government said there was now community transmission. And that summarized April. But look at what happened in May, because there was now much more interesting things. In May, we had seen COVID-19 cases had increased. We had also seen in May, based on the evidence that was coming up, there were more patients and the state was running out of bed spaces. So we heard that mild COVID-19 cases will start isolating at home. But the challenge in May was that Lagos State had still only tested about 16,000 people. And this was looking at what had happened since February. Only 16,000 people had been tested as at the end of May. Comes in June, things and policies are changed. On the 5th of June, The Lagos State government had said we now had 3 private hospitals that had been accredited to manage the COVID-19 situation, but still only 22,000 COVID-19 samples had been taken as at the beginning of June, and by the end of June, we now had 7 private laboratories that were conducting tests. July has been the busiest month for the state. From evidence that it cost between 100,000 naira to 1 million naira to manage a COVID-19 patient, to the evidence that showed from the Lagos State government that COVID-19 patients now needed more oxygen, to the warning strike from the Lagos State Medical Guild doctors. We've also seen the Lagos State experiencing much more cases of August. And yes, it was in July that the Lagos State government said they expected, that the COVID-19 curve may peak in August. But perhaps what is interesting is the Lagos State government is expanding its testing facility to other local council development areas so that there will now be 57 places that citizens could test. But for me, the most important information so far is still the number of tests. And because the number of tests that has been taken in Lagos State, which is the epicenter, from the facts available, approximately only 60,000 tests have been done in Lagos. You heard me right. Only 60,000 tests have been done.
And that's not enough.
No, clearly that is not enough. In summary, what we could summarize that is only 1 in every 400 people living in Lagos State has received or has been tested for COVID-19. And so, yes, we've seen a deceleration. The trend shows that there's been a deceleration in the number of new cases, and that is why the state is projecting that by August, the rate of new cases might decline. But here's what the state says. It used the word may. So the state hasn't said the number of cases will, but they've carefully used the word may. But that projection can only be based on if we're able to test many more people. So that assumption could come true, but we need to test many more people.
It is dependent on a number of factors, the number of available kits and so on, and people also presenting themselves for tests. But can we then say that the pandemic is coming to an end in other states?
The evidence shows that we've seen a spread moving out of Lagos to other states when we look at the total number of cases. And I'd like us to look at what has gone on in other states. If we look at Lagos versus the rest of Nigeria, it allows us to be able to clearly see what is going on. And from that, you will see that in February, as at the last day of February, Lagos State, yes, had 1 case. The rest of Nigeria there was no other case across the other states. End of March, Lagos State had 82 confirmed cases. Other states, 57 cases. So Lagos State still had more cases. End of April, yes, Lagos State still had more cases than the rest of Nigeria. But that changed in May. And that is still the situation whereby the rest of Nigeria have reported more cases as at the end of May, as at the end of June. And currently, the rest of Nigeria has reported more cases than Nigeria.
You need to come back to look at that, why we have a jump in cases, and with a lot of, more sectors reopening now, we expect that, not that we expect, but we hope that people will be careful.
But, just before you rush off, let's remember the words of popular British economist GMK John Keynes, who said that whenever the facts change, I change my mind. So whenever the facts change for the Lagos State government, my expectation is they will do the right thing and they will change their mind. And when the number of new samples and number of new tests increase, the facts will change, and the expectation is the Lagos State government.
And let's hope that people will change too and take their health more seriously. Babajide, always a pleasure having you.
I hope you change your mind someday and give me more time.
Indeed. Thanks again. And some women who are into rice processing in Kotangora local government area of Niger State say they're not feeling the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, as the disease has provided them more opportunities to make extra money. According to them, the demand for their products has increased, with people asking for supplies from various parts of the country, thereby providing job opportunities for more women. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, has more.
A rice mill located along Argungu Road in Kontagora local government area of Niger State. Women, both young and old, engage in rice processing here, an activity which involves parboiling of the commodity drying, milling, winnowing, and packaging. Each step provides an opportunity for each woman to earn some money.
Gaskiya mun gode ma Allah saboda in nayi kwana 10 ina samu 12,000.
The leader of the Women Cooperative Society says with the business, the women are rescued from hardship and overdependence on their husbands.
Honestly, we are not feeling the heat, so we are not suffering because we work in day in, day out. We work for people who might not necessarily be here, but we make sure we supply to them door to door. We have their contact.
But the achievements recorded by the women would not have been possible without support from the Value Chain Development Project of the International Food for Agricultural Development, IFAD VCDP.
When we came on board, the farmers were harvesting paddy per hectare 1.8 metric ton per hectare. Today, farmers are harvesting 7.2 metric ton per hectare. That have increased the volume of rice production. It has increased the income of the poor farmers. And in terms of processing, you can see a lot of processing activities that are going on.
To learn what Niger State is doing, teams from Kogi and Katsina states are paying a visit to the state to understudy the implementation of the IFAD VCDP. They are impressed with the success story of the women and hope to replicate same in their home states.
It's something that we can replicate, you know. It's actually in the operational manual for IFAD VCDP. So coming to see it firsthand before even doing the theoretical aspects. So it's a whole lot of new things we are learning from here.
For the women, they hope more support will be extended to more women in Niger State to boost their capacity in agriculture. Empress Simon, Channels Television News.
From Niger State, we move to Bauchi, where some blind persons are staying off the streets by engaging in skills acquisition for income generation to sustain themselves and their families. Besides improving their socio-economic well-being, some of them are also determined to advance their literacy levels at old age, as they're taking up classes to learn basic education. Hajara Aliyu has more.
Streets begging has been a thorn in the flesh for decades across some states. The problem may not be far from lack of good strategies and policies to deal with the menace. At old age, this blind man has found a new way of life off the streets. Every day, he's been led by his adolescent daughter to this center, built for the blind, to perfect his new skill, the art of manufacturing locally made pillows. This modest building in remote Steshena, Zaki local government area of Bauchi State, reflects his indigent status. He lives here with his wife and 12 children.
This is where the visually impaired man calls home. The room is poorly ventilated, and he sleeps here on this mat with his wife and the other children. This is a makeshift hangar where their clothes are hung and other things, of course, and the rest of the clothes are kept in a sack. And this is an ancient way of decorating the room. That's all they've got here.
The center also accommodates children of the blind. The idea is to train the children to look after their parents when they become weak. Apart from learning skills, they generate income from what is produced. Stashed here are pillows made by them. Each sells at 500 naira, and in a month they make sales of at least 20 pillows with a profit of 100 naira on each. Furniture is also manufactured here for the local markets.
Muka ji daɗi kuma muka yi addu'a. Ubangiji kuma Allah ya taimake mu akan wannan. Idan Allah ya bamu, za mu ci da iyalanmu da yaranmu abin da Allah ya bamu saboda a gaskiya mu in ba haka ba bara ba za ta samu ba.
The center was built through the Community and Social Development Project, a World Bank-assisted intervention in partnership with the state government. It's a demand-driven project which allows ownership after a group or community contributes 5 or 10% of the total sum.
There is an ability in disability, so we are trying to showcase it around Bauchi State for other vulnerable groups to see that, yes, with little help, these people can be taken up from the street.
I'm happy to say that of all the development projects that we have had in Bauchi, there is none that has a far-reaching impact and influence on the lives of the people like the community and social development project.
A similar center has also been built in Chinede, Akuyam local government area of Bauchi State. In their case, they engage in informal learning while also generating income from selling water to residents of the community in addition to rental services. State and federal governments could replicate this project to solve the problem of street begging while also helping the vulnerable get a new lease of life. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Spain insists it is safe amid new virus outbreaks after the UK abruptly ordered people coming from the country to quarantine. That's on the foreign scene. Please join us again. Welcome back. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has visited some wounded soldiers undergoing treatments at the Nigerian Army Reference Hospital in Kaduna with a promise to improving their welfare as he prays for their quick recovery. Many of the soldiers are those injured while fighting with the Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast and armed bandits in the northwest zone. The Army Chief had lunch with them and personally joined in serving the meals. Some of the soldiers were delighted with the visits of the Army Chief of Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and declared their willingness to go back to the battlefield as soon as they recover.
People who are talking about welfare, to me, we here in Fort Polsa, we are very, very happy with the whole things going on in this very place. The welfare of the wounded soldiers is 100% taken care of. The treatment is going 100% in this very place. The condition of this, the nurses, the doctors are taking good care of us in this very place. And you see me now, I'm ready to go back to the mission area if I can get a very nice prosthesis to go and fight and attack the Boko Haram terrorists.
Spain says new outbreaks of COVID-19 in the country are isolated and under control. The defense comes after the UK abruptly ordered people coming from Spain to quarantine. Infections have risen sharply in Spain recently as restrictions were eased. Some regions have now imposed measures, including making face masks mandatory. Here's a global update. Spain has been concerned about the UK's decision to impose a 14-day quarantine on travellers arriving in the UK, saying it has caused a great deal of uncertainty and confusion. Holidaymakers have been undeterred, though. Tourists say they feel safe despite the abrupt announcement, and the foreign minister insists Spain is a safe country for tourists. In the United States, the state of Florida registered another 9,300 new confirmed cases of coronavirus in 24 hours and has now overtaken New York to become the second worst hit state in the country. Florida has recorded an average of more than 10,000 new cases a day in recent weeks. The UK is said to have recorded 747 new COVID-19 cases in the past 24 hours, bringing the total number of people testing positive for the virus to 299,426. The number includes both Pillar 1 tests in hospitals and Public Health England laboratories and Pillar 2 wider population testing scenarios. Iran has confirmed another 2,333 new COVID-19 cases on Sunday, continuing a surge in infections that began in mid-May. The Health Ministry also reported another 216 deaths over the past 24 hours, bringing the toll to 15,700. Finally, North Korea says it has locked down the city of Kaesong near the border with South Korea over fears that a defector who returned to the north last week was infected with the coronavirus. Leader Kim Jong-un declared an emergency and convened an emergency meeting of his Politburo. If confirmed, it will be the first official COVID-19 infection in North Korea. In sports news, it is official. Manchester United and Chelsea will be playing in next season's UEFA Champions League after both sides this evening picked vital victories in final day fixtures in the English Premier League. United beat Leicester City 2-0 at the King Power Stadium with goals from Bruno Fernandes and Jesse Lingard. Chelsea also beat Wolves by same scoreline at Stamford Bridge, thanks to goals by Mason Mount and Olivier Giroud. The season's runners-up, Manchester City, recorded the biggest scoreline of the day with a 5-0 thrashing of relegated Norwich City. Champions Liverpool ended the season with 99 points from 38 games following a 3-1 win against Newcastle United. Tottenham finished the season 6th after a 1-0 draw against Crystal Palace. Bournemouth have been relegated despite the 3-1 win against Everton. Watford were also relegated after going down to Arsenal 3-2. And the main news again, former House of Representatives Speaker Yakubu Dogara today gave his reasons for dumping the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, as he alleged failure of governance in Bauchi State. That'll be all on the news at 10. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.